we go back in time, the chief advisor to Queen Elizabeth I, Sir John Dee, he was a Kabbalistic black magician. He had gone to the continent and learned from the top Jewish Kabbalists black magic, and he was the chief advisor in the British Empire, and he created Enochian magic and the Enochian language, which the Illuminati, which are hiding behind the Jehovah's Witness headquarters, they use Enochian rituals. That's what the power of the Enochian magic is. The watchtowers. That's why they call it the Watchtower Society. But anyway, yeah, they get a laugh when they say Watchtower Society because it's got a double meaning. Got sidetracked here. Sir John Dee conjured up demons or angels, okay, with his black magic. The beings that he conjured up, there were pictures drawn of them, and they look identical to what we call gray aliens. Okay, I tell you something. And then I visit with debriefing people that came out of high levels of the Illuminati, and these different types of aliens are participating in Illuminati rituals. I could go on. The bottom line is I have concluded that there are no good aliens. The aliens are demons, and we've got a mixture going on of demons and flesh and blood, and we've also got other genetic experiments.
That's freaky, mate. What is that?
Vamos a poner un ovni en Medellín. El 1 de enero del 2018 aparece ovni sobre el cielo de Medellín. Parece que están muy relajados, deben andar con resaca, por eso están tan lentos.
Toman mucho champán.
Sí, algunos vinimos en carro y otros vinieron en naves espaciales. Y pues deben estar borrachos porque siguen dando vueltas.
¿Dónde están?
Uy, pero es que alumbra mucho, mano.
No, es la evidencia. Ah, pero toca para mandarlo para Caracol, está bien mal.
¿Quién sabe? No, pero ahora sí se está moviendo. No, se mueve y se queda.
Mire, viene más cerca, no, yo arranco para casa. Ah, pues puta, me llegó al final. Vienen los extraterrestres para maricón del estudio. Ay, Dios mío.
Cada vez está más cerca, ¿no?
Sí, está más cerca.
There have been polls conducted, Gallup polls, one poll called the Roper poll. The results were extrapolated and sent to over 150,000 American GPs, medical practitioners. that basically said it's almost at epidemic proportions. They estimate that up to 4 million Americans may have had an alien abduction experience, as they believe. And then you've really got to wonder, why is the nature of it so deceptive? You know, if they're really here to help us, as some of these contacts claim, you know, why do they go around acting deceptively? Why do they stealthily abduct people in the middle of the night? And, you know, when I say it was confronting, there was some subject matter that was particularly disturbing. You know, people claim they've been taken onto a spaceship and probed in all parts of their bodies. There are sexual encounters. There seems to be some sort of almost ritual abuse that's going on. So you've got to ask, why would advanced, you know, evolved creatures, you know, kidnap people in the middle of the night and do these horrible things to them, and yet say, you know, we're here to help you evolve? And it's interesting that, you know, we'd like to apply, if you like, a scientific tag to it. But quite simply, it seems that these creatures claim that they fly millions of light years across the universe to basically deny the Bible, Christianity, and teach us almost New Age beliefs. Why would advanced extraterrestrials come just to teach us religious messages? And it seems to me, and again the researchers will show you, that the messages being received are deceptive in nature. They will tell you things like, well, you know, we've come from Venus or Mars. In the 60s, that was the messages. Well, we now know that's impossible. Now they say they come from Sirius or Orion or Zeta Reticuli or somewhere far off, where we can't test those claims. And that's the problem. And some of the stories they've told us, like that, we know to be demonstrably not true. And if someone comes to you, Chris, and tells you a story and does all these things and says, I'm here to help you, but then does brutal things to you and then lies to you, then I don't think trust is a good place to start. Let me just talk about abductions, because as I said, that's where I think we can unpick it. People that claim these abduction experiences say that little grey entities enter their room in the middle of the night and they see them pass through the walls, or they see them enter through the ceiling. And then these people who believe that they've had some real physical experience claim they're taken through the walls. Now, you and I know that can't be happening, but these people are having a real experience. But the question is it really aliens? Now, my conclusion there is I don't believe it is.
This is me in my back garden, Coppice Gate. I've just seen an orange light moving away at speed from whatever this is in the sky. I zoom in. See this? It's just flashing at a distance, minute, away from me. Don't know what it is. Gonna pan back out again. Unbelievable. So I came out and I saw an orange light speeding away from whatever this was. So looking from where I am now, it sped away at about 10 o'clock to where the light is, and then I'm just zooming in and appears to be getting closer and then going away again.
Hey, I know most of the church, I'm hoping most of the church, knows that the whole alien thing is, are demonic manifestations. John Mack, Jacques Vallée, J. Allen Hynek, all of these were secular researchers. They all came to the conclusion that these things were not intergalactic but interdimensional, and that they weren't completely physical. It was more of a paranormal nature, although they manifest physically in our physical realm. but they are spirit beings. These are just the same entities that God warns us about, the fallen angels and the children of the fallen angels. We read in Genesis 6, which was completely thrown out. It's a supernatural. If we don't understand Genesis 6, we don't understand the Bible. The reason for the flood was because the fallen angels had made it with the daughters of men and created these giants, gigantes, which means earthborn. And the Nephilim are the fallen angels, the fallen ones. They came and left their first estate, which is their spiritual existence in heaven, to have children. And they rebelled against God, and Satan wanted to keep Christ from being born. So if he miscegenated everything and mixed it, then there would be no pure human for Christ to manifest. It was to redeem humanity. That's why Noah was saved. He was perfect in his generations, genetically pure. It wasn't that he was such a great guy. So they were existing in prehistory. It's where all these monoliths come from. And some of these giants were huge. There's a 22-foot skeleton of a human in Switzerland, I think. The rest of them have been covered up by Smithsonian. It refutes their evolution theory, and it proves the Bible true. So you know there's a demonic agenda. He's the prince of the power of the air, Satan is, and he runs all of these things. These things defy our laws of physics because they're not completely physical.
No, seriously, what is that? What is that? Wait, should we pull over and look at it?
Hey, it's another one came out.
Whoa, what is that? Should
Dude,
we pull
this
over?
is so fucking cool.
Wait, it's gone. Wait, I don't know.
I don't know what that is in the sky, but it's crazy. Look, it disappeared. It disappeared.
Hopefully, this was revealed to me a long time ago by God after I came out of the occult, because I know a lot of occultists that can summon UFOs like that. They show up on command because they're serving Satan. Some of them don't know it, but they are. They masquerade as angels of light. I did a video on the Galactic Federation of Light and Semyaza and Ashtar. Semyaza was one of the 200 fallen angels that fell at Mount Hermon. Hermon means oath. They made an oath to mate with women and create these abominations called the Raphaim, the Zebzubim, the Anakim, all of these races that God told the Israelites to destroy. They weren't just human. It said kill the animals too. They had mixed genetics in it was horrible what they did, and people have thrown out this whole supernatural event because it was just too much for them. And the book of Enoch goes into it. Now, the book of Enoch is mentioned in scripture a few times, so I consider it a good complement to biblical information. I don't consider it canon, but it sure does clear up some stuff. Ashtaroth was a demonic entity that was worshipped in the Old Testament. These are all the same. It's good cop, bad cop. The Pleiadians and Nordics are against the reptilians, and they're going to fight for them to help you. But either side you choose, you're choosing Satan. See, Christ is the only way. I do a lot of videos on that, but this is mainly to expose like the Hindu gods, the multi-faced. You can see in Ezekiel that the cherub that guard the throne of God have 4 faces. And a lot of the Hindu gods have multi-arms. I think a lot of that is interdimensional portals. Maybe being caught between time-space makes them look like they have more than one arm. They could have multi-arms. I don't know. I know they made a lot of crazy creatures like minotaurs, and you'll see them. I mean, look, these people in ancient days that made statues and drew pictures, they were drawing what they saw. This isn't imagination. This is what they saw. The Greek gods, the Titans, the Olympians. A lot of the descriptions of the Olympians have flashing, blinking lights and stuff like that. That sure sounds like technology. I don't know if the angels were limited in their transportation, so they created things, but I know that in Ezekiel he said the spirit of the creature is in the wheel. That's what came to me when I asked God what these things were. Now, Ezekiel's not a UFO, it's a wheel of the throne of God. Each one of them is one of the wheels of his throne, but their spirit was in that wheel. So if the cherub spirit is in that wheel, can't the fallen angel spirit be in the wheel of a UFO? I mean, it makes sense. So in any case, it sounds insane, but you can go to Joe Jordan, CE4. MUFON was covering up that saved people that rebuked these things trying to abduct them in the name of Jesus Christ and the authority. Now, his name is not a magic word. If you don't know the Lord, it's not a magic word. It's a relationship with him. It's being born again. They have no authority over you. They can't touch you. So they have to leave. Now, he realized this was a spiritual event. He had over 400 cases. You can look up CE4. It's Close Encounters of the Fourth Kind. It's a whole website of demonic manifestations, sleep paralysis, old hag syndrome, alien abductions being stopped, demonic entities in their home being cast out. These are all victorious stories of people stopping these alien abduction things. Like the Mayans with their Quetzalcoatl and their Kukulkan, they're the plumed serpent. And the plumed serpent would manifest as a man as well. I believe that's Satan himself. And those human sacrifices were no accident. No, they try to make it seem like they got desperate, so they started offering each other. No, these were commanded from these demonic entities. Molech and Kimash, these guys all demanded that they sacrifice their children live in a fire to them. These things want blood sacrifice. So I'm hoping that nobody's deceived. I think the coming Great Deception may have something to do with the UFO thing. I know the Vatican has a telescope named Lucifer that they're constantly watching the skies. I know George Adamski from the 50s was a contactee that used to give the Pope messages. You know how hard it is to get in to see the Pope? That guy would just walk right in. It's horrifying.
No sé si le puede dar zoom a eso. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 luces. Se ve. ¿Qué será? No se sabe. Vamos para el frente. Eso está en el cielo de Kissimmee. 2018.
Anyway, I'm hoping you guys get that this whole thing is really a spiritual event, and is going to be more of it, more coming deception. They've been finding bodies of these little fairy-like creatures that look like gargoyles. It's real body. They have skeletal structure in the x-ray. They've taken DNA that's unidentifiable. These things are real, and in Revelation it says men's hearts are going to fail them for what they see coming on the earth. Can you imagine? It also talks about these locusts with like hair like women and faces like men. It could be these little weird things. I don't know. All I know is that you're going to see a lot of crazy stuff, and that it's a lie. It's all satanic. It's all Lucifer and his rebellion. And, so I was saying the Greys, it might be a physical body they've made and put the demonic spirit that doesn't have a body in it. But I'm thinking they're not, because they manifest in the physical and can walk through walls and all that stuff. Like if you leave their body and you think you killed them, they'll disappear. Like there's weird stuff. And they've done everything to suppress it. The whole Men in Black thing, those aren't human beings either. They got those weird blue eyes, and it's just weird stuff going on, okay? But it's not, it's real, and it can manifest physically, but it's of a spiritual nature. So I hope nobody falls for any of this stuff. Okay, bye.
all sorts of complex designs. These first appeared in the late 60s, I think early 70s in the south of England. And they were a pretty simple design, and then they got more and more complex. And some of the hyperbole that's followed these, and you've heard some of this stuff, they are so precise and so exact, they could not have been man-made. The stalks have been bent in such a fashion, they've not been broken. We don't know any technology that can do that. There's leftover radiation. The cellular structure of the corn stalks or the wheat stalks or whatever it is have been changed. We've heard stories like that. But in the 1980s, two elderly gentlemen by the name of Doug Bauer and Dave Chorley stepped forward and claimed responsibility for all the crop circles that appeared, you know, in that early period. Now, they multiplied all over the world, so the first thing you need to realize, even though there are experts called seriologists, okay, serious field studies in this, that say they were created by aliens, just average Joe Blows like you or me gathered that it could be made, and they started replicating it all around the world. And Doug and Dave, when they came out and took credit for them, they were debunked. Here's how they make them. You can go to this website, circlemakers.org, and that's how they make them. Look at this, folks, a plank and 2 bits of rope. That is the most common and effective method used by people all over the world in making crop circles. However, there is a sinister side to it. And the circle makers, and again, look for yourself, you go to their website, their name originally was Team Satan. And you would wonder why somebody would call themselves Team Satan. I mean, they're in this for business now. Obviously, it was politically incorrect and they changed it. But why would a group of people call themselves Team Satan? Well, when you investigate their website, you'll see that they say when they build these crop circles, they have all sorts of paranormal experiences. People have had healings. There's been radio interruptions. Lights have appeared in the sky. And so they don't believe that it's UFOs. They just think it is some sort of psychic or paranormal experience. I mean, for example, I was in Canada recently, I turned on the Sci-Fi channel, and there was a woman channeling a message from an alien being. And she was saying from this alien being that we've evolved to such a state that you couldn't see me. My atoms move so fast that if you were to pass your hand through my body, if you were to try to touch me, your hand would pass right through my body. And so people are dabbling in some sort of what they think is some sort of pseudo-technology when it's really opening a doorway to the occult.
It says, "For then there will be great tribulation, such as has not been seen since the beginning of the world until this time, nor ever shall be. And unless those days were shortened, no flesh would be saved.
Bingo.
But for the elect's sake, those days will be shortened." And I that probably does take us into the Great Tribulation, perhaps that second half of the 7-year tribulation period. But what I want to suggest to you, because this dovetails back into the UFO, the aliens' infatuation, it's probably not a good word for our nuclear capabilities. If what you're suggesting is correct, that when the Middle East war explodes, be it Psalm 83, which would be my advocation, which would probably precede Ezekiel 38, but whether it's that or Ezekiel 38, if the UFOs disclosure, full disclosure, the aliens comes at that time, it might tie into the thought that they are at this point concerned that humanity might try to destroy itself.
Right.
And of course it says that those days will be shortened for the elect's sake, so we know that God will shorten those days. It won't be the UFO, the extraterrestrials.
Right.
But it might suggest that maybe that they feel that is the time that they've got to come on the scene before humanity actually destroys itself. And even prophecy says there will come a point where mankind could destroy itself, as I just quoted.
Well, I think that we are living in the days where we're going to see all this.
this stuff, again, it's real, and the church is starting to wake up at the fact that this thing is not going away. And, you know, I played golf with my friend a couple of Fridays ago. I actually blogged about this, and we hooked up with this guy, nice guy, and we played, you know, we turned the corner on the 9th hole, went to the 10th hole, and on the 11th hole he announces that he's a pastor. Well, you know, why didn't you tell us that in the beginning? You know, I mean, it's like, you know, what are you trying to do here? You know, so anyway, you know, it's like undercover pastor. So I said, well, I am too. And we got into a conversation. What do you do? I write books, and this is what I do. And the moment I said Nephilim, he said, well, you don't believe it, that fallen angels had sex with the women. I said, absolutely. He said, that never happened. That can't happen. That's impossible. He starts quoting scripture to me. And I realized that here's a guy that's been pastor of a church probably for 20 years, and he's a grand poobah, and everybody kisses this guy's ring. And I mean this with all due respect. And he went to a certain seminary, and he learned a certain thing. And I looked at him and I said, have you ever done a modicum of research on the subject? Do you have any idea what you're talking about here? That in the days of Noah, so it will be when the Son of Man returns. What differentiates the days of Noah that Matthew 24 states? And people are always saying, well, who are the sons of God? That's the $64,000 question. The Hebrew term is Benai Elohim. And Chuck Missler has done a great expose of that, as well as Dr. Thomas, M.D. DeHaan, countless people, Pember, have looked at this passage, and it is Benai Elohim, and it always is angels. That's what it is. It is not the ungodly line of Cain marrying the daughters of Seth. That is a total torture of the text. But if you're taught that in seminary, and that's what you believe, because what it does, and then, of course, he gives me the classic one. We're told we'll be like angels. We're not given in marriage. Okay, what does that have to do with our sex organs? Nothing. No one ever says that that they're sexless. In fact, what we actually see in the book of Jude is what? The angels left their first estate and went after strange flesh. Thank you very much. It all fits together. And the moment we understand that the fallen angels did this, and also afterwards, which is when Joshua and Caleb go into the promised land, and who was in there again? The Nephilim. And what are they doing? They were giants. We're like grasshoppers in their sights. Why do you think the decree from the Most High God is to slay everybody in Jericho? They're hybrids. They're demonic fallen angel hybrids. That's why the decree. Otherwise, you do have a genocidal, homicidal, maniacal God.
Right, right.
You do. Mm-hmm. But you know, if you don't know the Nephilim stuff, you look at that and you go, "This is the God I'm following. He's crazy. He's a homicidal maniac. Mm-hmm. Kill everybody, burn everything. The men, women, children, everything goes. Burn everything. Goats, animals, everything. Why? It's all tainted, genetically messed with by the fallen angels. What differentiates the days of Noah from any other time in history is the presence of Benai Elohim, the fallen angels. What are we seeing now? Why would Jesus warn us that? If it's not that, then what is it? Then what am I supposed to look at? Wickedness? Come on. There's, you know, the Inquisition wasn't wicked. Hitler wasn't wicked. You see what I'm saying? You go back in history, it's like man has always been wicked. We always have violence and all the craziness. It's always been here. So what differentiates the days of Noah is the presence of the Benai Elohim, the fallen angels manifesting on the earth. What are we seeing now, folks? What are we seeing now? But it's different, because the enemy is not going to make the same mistakes, and this is the great cosmic ruse. This is the mystery of iniquity, which has been working for 2,000 years, and when he springs it, even the elect would be deceived, if that were possible, you know? And some of the elect, some of the people that are Christians will be sucked in on this thing. In fact, I believe many people will look at this. Here's something to think about, and I don't know if anyone else, well, I'm sure someone else has thought of it. I can't be the only person on the planet that's thought of this. But
I don't know, you get some crazy insight.
You do, and you kind of go, well, I don't know about this, but here's something interesting. When Dr. Lear told us, I asked him, what do you think these implants are doing? And Dr. Lear said he believed that the implants were changing people's DNA or modifying it in some way.
Well, there you have it right there.
There you go. So what if these guys show up? It's a lot of what ifs, okay? What if these guys show up, and along with the prophecy of buy, sell, or trade, which we know is in there, right?
Right.
Which I don't, you know, it's like too many people are hip, right? I'm not going to take that to mark of the beast, right? Okay, we all get that, right? But if a nuclear war happens, these guys show up and they have a chip and they say, not only will it have here's where I'm going with this. Not only will it have all your identification, which we desperately need for our new world order. Sound like Alex Jones here. For our new world order, but and all your medical records. But what's great about this little chip that we're going to insert, it will change your DNA. So if you get sick, your body will heal itself, and it will expand your lifespan to 500 years, between 300 and 500 years. Guess what, Bill? Guess what? People will be lining up for that thing, and I don't care what they believe.
You're absolutely right. And think about this. So you're suggesting that, and many of us believe what John was trying to describe 2,000 years ago in Revelation 13, where it says no man, rich, free, all of humanity for the most part, will be able to buy or sell unless they take a mark in their right hand or in their forehead. We suggested John was talking about a technology that probably exists today, a computer chip. He called it a mark. And, of course, this is more than just, biometric technology. This is actually a forced worship of the Antichrist, so it's much more deep than that. Mm-hmm. But you're suggesting it's an even more advanced technology that could be handed down to humanity through the alien connections. Is that what you're saying there?
I am saying that based on the implants that Lear has taken out, what if, and it's a what if you were told that you could take a chip and live to 500 years old and be disease-free?
Right.
Be disease-free.
Absolutely.
And because this chip would correct your cells in your body at the onset of any disease. In other words, there'd be no more disease. When Lear looks at this, looks at the implants that are removed from people, the technology there is so far above anything we can even understand. We don't know what we're looking at. We don't know what we're looking at, and this is the problem. We've got, again, this truncated view of the universe, this truncated view of the angelic hierarchy. We know from the Book of Enoch, and I realize people go, the Book of Enoch, can't talk about that because it's not part of the canon. Well, before the canon was the canon, it was certainly read widely by rabbis. People quoted it. We quote the Book of Enoch and the Book of Jude and 2 Peter, and it's alluded to in 1 Corinthians. So before we, get all uppity about talking about the Book of Enoch, I mean, it's this narrow-minded, truncated approach to what's going on. We know that some kind of rebellion happened at some point with the fallen angels. We know that, but we don't know when it happened. And, proponents of the young earth, it had to be 6,000 years ago. So let me get this right. The angels were created, and 2 days later, a bunch of them rebelled. You see, it just doesn't make any sense to me. And, I'm going to have my opinion on this. And I think that the universe could be, in fact, a lot older than what people believe. But I believe that man is very, very new to the scene, which is why the enemy looks at this stuff and hates us. And we're told in the Book of Enoch that when the fallen angels come, there's a quid pro quo, there's a trade. And the fallen angels give or show early man weapons. They're primitive weapons, but they're weapons, which of course implies technology. It shows them in fact, the pronouncement of judgment that comes upon them is because of they're giving the secrets of heaven. They're not allowed to do that. Root cuttings. In fact, the first abortion that's ever been recorded, and to the best of my knowledge, has to do when a fallen angel gives instructions on how to kill the embryo in the womb. So, this stuff is malevolent, and it's all written right there in the Book of Enoch, which is why I think, just from a historical viewpoint, we can at least appreciate what is written in that book.
Big question, especially for Christians, is this: are UFOs for real? In a manner of speaking, yes. One cannot deny either the numerous sightings or the miles of video presented by normally competent professional people. UFO stands for Unidentified Flying Object. Whether or not a UFO is from outer space is another question entirely. I find it particularly interesting that this latest crop of UFO stories paints them as benevolent guardians. I believe UFOs are real and that their source is supernatural, but not from some distant galaxy as usually presumed. The Bible speaks of fallen angels or demons that have great powers. It reveals that apart from divine restraint, they can manifest themselves in a human form and materialize advanced vehicles. Prophecy predicts that God's restraint of those malevolent people will be removed in the last days. Just imagine what would happen if a UFO were to suddenly land in New York and demand to be taken to see the UN ambassador to outer space aliens. Actually, you don't have to imagine. That's the plot line for dozens, if not scores, of past movies and television series. Aliens arrive promising such things to mankind as the elimination of war, removal of poverty, the cure for dreaded diseases, and techniques that will make it possible to feed billions of people. In many of these movies, mankind embraces their newfound benefactors only to discover that what the aliens were really doing was fattening us up for lunch. But what if those aliens are really what the Bible calls demons? The Bible records incidences of fallen angels assuming visible physical bodies and interacting with mankind. This is especially true before the Great Flood, recorded in Genesis chapter 6. Bible prophecy predicts a great deception that God will send to those who are left behind after the rapture, that is, all Christians are removed from the earth. This deception will cause the vast majority of the inhabited earth to follow the Antichrist as the world leader and savior. According to these prophecies in 2 Thessalonians chapter 2, verses 7 through 12, and Revelation chapter 13, this great deception will mold the world into an Antichrist-worshiping one-world government overnight.
Attention. J'essaie de descendre mon trépied en même temps. Là. Ok, j'ai mon trépied. Oh, si, y en a. Oh, c'est trop beau.
C'est quoi?
C'est trop beau. Oh, non, non, non.
Un drone.
Non. Ok, je l'ai. Ok, là, vous allez voir la vie. Là. Vous allez voir une vie autre que la nôtre, ok? Checkez ça.
On le voit.
Checkez ça. Checkez ça, merci. On te voit, hein, on te voit. Je sais pas si tu nous entends, mais on te voit.
C'est quoi?
Hey, non, 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 faut pas qu'il soit là, s'il vous plaît.
Ici, touche pas.
Rémi.
Ici.
On te voit, hein, on te voit.
C'est quoi?
On te voit.
Ça brille, hein? Hey, c'était vraiment nice. Ça brille.
Ah,
Reste ici, Rémi.
Ok,
Rémi,
là.
reste ici, viens voir.
Ok, je vais la rechercher.
Ah oui, tu l'as. Reste ici, Rémi. Papa, il est là, il s'en vient. C'est quoi? Ça a l'air... Hey, ça a deux moteurs.
C'est un vaisseau.
On le voit!
C'est vraiment ça.
Viens voir, maman, c'est vraiment nice.
C'est ça qu'on se demande, là.
Check! Maman! Vite, viens voir!
Oh merde, j'ai perdu. Ok, il est là.
Vite, check!
Merde. Ah, je capote là. J'ai l'adrénaline dans le tapis là. Faudrait pas qu'il y en ait un deuxième, mais si je capoterais ma vie. Attends. Je vois.
C'est vraiment... Oh! Ça
Oh non! Merde, je l'ai perdu là, je le vois plus. Ok, il est là. Mon zoom, il est de la misère là. Ok, j'y vais. Oh, c'est qui est beau.
C'est quoi ça?
Un vaisseau.
Ça fait des flèches, tu sais?
Un vaisseau, ça fait un vaisseau.
Mais descends un peu vers
Ouais, mais je sais, mais c'est tellement zoomé que...
Mais sur YouTube, man, je te jure. Ça fait des vues. Ah non, c'est impossible.
Ça va passer aux nouvelles, il faut que j'envoie même un courriel. Hey, je te dis, ma chérie, là. Oh, c'est qu'il est beau, il est beau.
Oh non, c'est une extraterrestre.
Chris, man, es-tu capable de me dire c'est quoi, ça?
Attends, bouge pas.
Bon, c'est ça. Non, touche rien.
Non, il faut t'arrêter de bouger, toi.
Je le sais.
Ah, il est plus là?
Il est là.
Ah, il est là.
Il va jamais mourir ou quoi? Non, mais ça va jamais bouger.
C'est quoi? Ah, c'est bien.
Oh, merci. Nice, là. Ok, Bruno? Appelle TVA, là. Puis dis-leur que j'ai un vaisseau spatial sur caméra.
Attends, fais-moi
Oh, on le voit.
Ok?